I was able to keep my engineering GPA over 3.5, go to 15 hackathons, and also grow to 50K on social media.
This is Jia. She's a college student who won 21 hackathons with a 70% win rate.
I signed up for the next one and actually didn't tell my parents, secretly rented a car, drove to Ohio, and then won first place.
Not to mention that she started a company while in college with a pretty crazy story.
I said I wanted to start a company, so at 9 p.m. I started shipping out the MVP, and at 9 a.m. I posted it everywhere on Instagram. The app crashed after it got too much traffic. Our apartment got robbed. We got our laptop stolen. It's okay. So literally the next hour, we got right back onto talking to clients. We landed 7 YC companies working with us and 50 other companies.
I appreciated her transparency and think you will too.
There are so many CS content creators getting canceled left and right for their opinions on this topic. My opinion is that
the number one thing that I wanted to talk to you about was hackathons. You attended so many hackathons, it's crazy. And you have an insane win rate. I don't know. I just keep seeing 70% being thrown around there.
70%.
So, okay, you clearly have figured it out. You know how to win hackathons. You got some special tips here. How'd you get into the hackathons? What made you want to go so deep into hackathons as a college student?
I got into hackathons actually from a non-technical background. I was a finance major.
Oh, really?
I had taken one Python class, try-harded it, sort of attended every single lecture, got a 4 point, and then I was like, I can try attending this hackathon this weekend. The issue was that I didn't know any of the modern libraries like React or Next. But I was like, oh, there's builders at this hackathon, so I can probably just have them build my idea. But I ended up building the entire time for the full 24 hours, and we ended up losing that first hackathon.
You said you were finance. So did you have any experience in high school, APCS or anything like that?
I had APCS, but I was pretty disinterested.
Okay, so you knew something, but you didn't expect this to be something that you got really deep into. So after you did that first hackathon, what made you want to do another 20 after that?
It kind of just naturally flowed. Even though we lost the first hackathon, I wasn't that disappointed because that was the first time where I felt so much enthusiasm for building, and I was able to unleash my creativity. So I signed up for the next one, and actually didn't tell my parents. Secretly rented a car, drove to Ohio, and then won first place for hardware for the Ohio Hackathon. It was called Blossom Hacks.
So this was in college, right?
This was in college. This was in my freshman year of college in the spring semester.
Oh my God. Okay. So you really went out of your way, and you did a hardware hackathon too.
Yeah, and I did a hardware hackathon. I basically had this insane schedule where I would take my economics courses in the daytime, so just cram them and get them out of the way. And virtually the entire day I would be in the lab, experimenting with hardware, software, and from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m., most days of the week, I would just be learning new APIs, new tools, new libraries, and new microcontrollers. Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
What was the thing that you built that won the hackathon?
The thing that I built that won the hackathon, basically I just put a bunch of different modules together with a Raspberry Pi Pico, and it was able to measure the distance between the Raspberry Pi and whatever object was in front of it, sort of an extension of a walking cane or invisible, well, not walking cane, but cane for people with visual disabilities. So instead of the cane being 10 feet, it would be 20 feet. And wherever you pointed your arm, it would be able to measure the distance.
You rented a car, you kind of just sent it. How'd you build the team? What happened when you got there?
I had found a friend from just reaching out on Discord servers, and so we drove there together. But I just full sent the hackathon solo.
Oh, okay. So you didn't have a team. Out of all the hackathons that you do participate in, do you feel like the team's a big part of it, or have you been soloing all of them?
A team is a big part of it. I think when going for massive prizes or going for grand prizes, for sure a team is an advantage rather than a disadvantage, especially when you can divide tasks and people can specialize. Then when everyone's working at the same thing, all that manpower is extremely helpful.
What makes a good team?
Finding teammates not based on the credential, but based on their skills. A lot of times people would ape in on the PhD research students because of their credentials or because of their internships or titles or whatever. But I would take the opposite route, and I would look at people's projects on GitHub, see how active their commits were, and see what kind of experience they had with our particular like use case. And that was actually a better method because these teammates would be more passionate about the project we were building, put in more effort and sort of be more scrappy and have like less of a limiting mindset and more of like growth mindset.
That makes sense. You're basically hiring for the exact skill set that you need to build something. When you come into these hackathons, do you already come in with ideas?
Yeah, I already come in with ideas. There's so much like hackathons are not like typical like competitive programming competitions. There's so many aspects to a hackathon, like the social aspect, the time frame aspect, how there's like only 24 to 48 hours. The fact that there's very different themed prizes, niche prizes that you can research into and how the tools that you're like given are varied. So you have to be very scrappy. But in that way you can like sort of max out the aspects before building. Or for example, like even though you don't like type any code, you can put together a Google Doc, research the different sponsor tools, sort of understand how they integrate with your different ideas, visualize how you would be developing the project and if it's feasible within 24 hours. I would often go for like a very solid, simple, straightforward finished product rather than going for something absurd or complex. I mean, in times like I would aim high in like very like grand prizes where I do like something extremely complex. Like for the Princeton hackathon, we did lacing algorithm for seeing if people mess with artist NFTs.
Lacing algorithm. Well, what do you mean by lacing algorithm?
Like an algorithm that can like trace back if someone has messed with someone's art in an NFT and it tracks it back to the original artist.
I see. Okay, so there's at some point in the tree of edits, it fans off of. Okay, I see. And you built some UI on top of it to like show that this was like a descendant of some prior NFT or something like that.
Yep.
I see. And that won the grand prize for at Princeton.
Yeah, that won the Verbar prize.
I see. Okay. So you mentioned like in order to win, there's a social component. Are you talking about the judges or you're talking about the teams or what is that?
Both the judges and the teams. Like, for example, being able to read people for the team and see if they would like contribute positively or negatively to the energy of the team. Because like beyond skills, motivation in the hackathon for the whole 24 hours is pretty integral. Like when someone gives up or thinks that the hackathon isn't as possible, like there are only like there's only 3 other people to keep the energy of the team up. And like being like a one person try hard is also like motivating to the team because they can see how serious like one person is. But still like the best results have come when every single member of the team is absolutely full sending the hackathon.
Makes sense. And you talked about the judges are also a big part of it. I imagine you really have to sell your ideas or present. That's got to be a big part in addition to building. Do you have any tips for people who attend the hackathons? What works when it comes to selling?
A big misconception is that people think that the most theoretical ideas will win. Because another big misconception about hackathons is that they think that the most like theoretically cracked people win it. But that's actually not the case. Most of these judges are actually non-technical. So a big thing that I do is I look into the judges' eyes and see if they're actually following. And I also keep the pitch very concise. I simply state the idea, what it does, and then focus the most on the demo and the judges interacting with the demo. So the judges can see for themselves that the product actually works without cracking. Versus like I've seen other approaches or mistakes where people, and also mistakes I've made too, is where people explain about the whole tech stack and think the judges will be impressed rather than having them interact with the project directly. Where they talk about, I use MongoDB, I use Next.js and Fast API, and then they keep rambling about all the technical details, but all the judges want to see is this project hype, and would they imagine themselves using it or someone they know using it?
I see. So, and when you said theoretical, you're talking about like technical complexity. Like
I know.
A lot of people think that it's actually a technically complex solution that's going to win, but it's actually the thing that solves a real problem or is interesting and they could really see the value in the project. Is that right?
Yeah. I also think that aiming high for technical complexity is also helpful because pursuing a more ambitious idea, but having thought through all of the steps, like in the Google Doc I said, makes a very technical project seem very simple to a judge because it's implemented with flawless execution.
So In your experience, what's more important? Is it the idea for the project or is it the execution on the project?
I would say both. So my aims would be fully connect front end and back end, make sure it's working, and make sure the idea is very unique.
Does the back end need to be work? I remember when I was at UCLA doing hackathons, we were trying to get the back end and the front end to work, and we were all not great builders. We were just good at tests, taking tests and stuff. We didn't know how to actually build software. And then so we got the front end working, but the back end was absolutely not working at all. And so we just made the back end like a file or something and had the front end just reading from that file. I mean, it worked. Like if you looked at it on, on my local, but there's no back end. So I guess my question is like, how much does the implementation details matter? Or is it just if you show something that looks good, they're not going to ask any questions about what it's actually doing and how it's doing it?
I think to a degree it can work, but like if you're aiming for the win, then it's probably better to have an actually working project because then you can explore more once you get it connected. For technical development, a big misconception is that when you divide your team, you can divide them into front end and back end, and at the end, it can integrate them all together. And so the front end people keep on making the front end more beautiful. They add like more buttons. They're like, oh, I have this idea. We're going to actually have like, an entire quiz for people to take. And then the back end people are like, oh, let's keep on building the back end. We're going to think about the different tables to add. We're going to see if it can like load faster. And then at the end, it never gets fully integrated. So the actual approach would be within the first few hours, connect the front end and back end together, even if like in the most simple way at the earliest stage possible, and then iterate on that. So see if the WebSockets are streaming, see how the connection works, set up the port, whatever.
Right. That makes sense. Out of all of the projects that you've done, I mean, over 20 hackathons, do you have any favorite projects?
I think my favorite project is this VR that we built completely from cardboard and glass, and we use like an Arduino to project in the glass prism in a hologram through like cardboard glasses, a transcription using AI transcription. We use Whisper AI and like projected the live transcription in a hologram through the VR. It was pretty awesome.
What was using the light? Is it like a projector or something?
Yeah, it was like an OLED from like an OLED screen that you can like integrate with an Arduino.
Oh,
And then we
interesting.
connected it all through Bluetooth. And then, yeah, so if you were a student in class and your professor was talking but you couldn't pay attention, like all the notes would pop up in a hologram on the top right of your glasses and then also get summarized in a web app.
Oh, that's crazy. I don't know. And you did that in 24 hours.
We did that in 9 hours and we were able to sleep that hackathon. That's why it was insane. The entire team was cracked. No Ivy League kid students. They're just community college kids. We literally drove there. Absolutely full sent the project, yeah.
That's crazy. How'd you put together that team?
There's this guy just like at a community college nearby who was just building rockets in his backyard. And I was like, yo, want to go to a hackathon? And he was like, bet it up. And then, like, at my ad club, there were just these guys that were always working in the entrepreneurship center. And like they just had like the grind set. They just worked all the time. And so I was like, y'all want to do a hackathon? And so then that was us four, and we are all still in contact today.
Wow. Okay, that's crazy. Random community college kid building rockets in his backyard. That's a
Yeah.
really interesting hire for your team. I'm curious, would you recommend hackathons? And if so, what are the benefits? Because I remember when I guess a long time ago, but it wasn't really the top priority. There's a lot of other things to focus on. Why should someone do hackathons?
I think in this day and age with like the competition in the market, it's really good to have personal projects to make you stand out. But I also think that like the marginal benefit of hackathons decreases, and it'd be much more valuable to just make a product that people want to use like long term or just get a bunch of users. I think you learn more from that. But yeah, at hackathons they have recruiters there. They fast track you to applications, like for example, Bloomberg, RoboFlow. They're looking for builders. Hackathons also help you develop agency, being able to just like think on your feet, do something new, not be afraid to do something new, and not be afraid to do it in an environment you don't know anything about. So yeah, being adaptable. I'd say I think like 3 hackathons is good, 3 to 5. But anything after that, like probably not the best for like body or yeah, you could be doing something else.
For sure, for sure. So you said basically it's a forcing function to building a project, but you think the thing that actually helps people learn and distinguish themselves is actually not the hackathon, it's the project and building something that matters, that people are using. That is what helps people stand out for recruiters. Is that right?
Yeah, both stand out for recruiters and also just learn more than you would at hackathons.
I see. I see.
That's
Makes
why I quit
sense.
hackathons. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hackathons, it's literally in the name. It's just the most insane hack. It's not, there's probably not a lot of long-term learnings from something that's thrown together so quickly. You mentioned agency. That's really interesting because that actually stood out to me. You're talking about you just got in a car, you just sent it to some random hackathon without telling your parents, and you went and it worked out and you won. But the thing that stands out to me is not you winning, but it's not the audacity, but the initiative to kind of just go, not take permission and just go and send it. I'm curious, do you feel like it's a muscle, or do you feel like your agency's gotten stronger over time?
Always had like a little bit. Yeah, there's a point to where I got so bored of school, like I just needed some sort of mental stimulation that wasn't like regurgitating information from like a textbook. I don't know. I think maybe it's like the deviation from where I came from. Like for example, like no name state school, starting a company is like pretty much unheard of. There are like 2 or 3 people that like were very serious about startups from that school. I'd like to think that yeah, hackathons did increase my agency.
You talk about school. I mean, when I was going to school, I felt like it was taking a good amount of time. I can't imagine balancing all this stuff. I mean, you're also doing social media, startup, hackathon. So that's something I'm curious about is like, how do you prioritize? How do you manage your time?
Okay, well, there was this one semester back when I actually did care about like everything, and I was like, I had to do all of it because I just want to make everyone happy. Like, I had to do grades to make my parents happy. I had to do hackathons to make myself happy. I had to do content to put myself out there and get a job. And that was a lot of pressure, but I was able to keep my 3.5 engineering GPA, keep my engineering GPA over 3.5, go to 15 hackathons, and also grow to 50K on social media.
Oh my God.
That was like, I think that was like the semester before last semester. And yeah, last semester I just kind of full sent it on doing things I wanted instead of school. But yeah, that one semester where I was focused on like all three, the way I managed my time is that I would like do time blocking. So if I had like a task of homework to do, I would set a specific time during the day to execute on it and also a location. And then for hackathons, I'd make sure like all my homework was done before Friday at 5 p.m. so I could focus on the win for the hackathon because I see some people doing homework at hackathons and I would know. I think full focus like in the environment you're in is good. And then for content, I sort of just like started to understand short form content and how you can put like a minimal amount of effort into one piece of short form content, but get like a lot of leverage in the future. So like I would just make like 3 second to 5 second reels that would just get a ton of views. Or like casual reels wherever I was in the day. Like, yeah, there's 24 hours in the day and enough time for a 1 minute reel. So yeah, I would just like wherever I was just like, film that Walmart reel. I think a lot of people overthink content and think that it's hard to balance, but short form content is pretty okay.
I see. Okay, so your answer to the balance is just efficiency and
Yeah, time blocking.
yeah, time blocking, and then also prioritizing the most impactful stuff. Because it sounds like you weren't the type of creator, for instance, in the content where you were really sweating long videos or posting nonstop. You really thought about this is like the highest ROI video,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's short. I'm just gonna send it and then
Mhm.
move on, do the next
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and then also attending office hours, like for all the hardest classes. Like, even if I wasn't doing, if I didn't have specific questions, I'd just like sort of sit in there and like just acquire information from everyone else's questions and as well the professor, just like sort of like mentioning offhand, oh, this is going to be like something important on the exam. Just like being there in person or like being at hackathons in person, environment placement is pretty big. So I also took that with me, like when I went to Silicon Valley to be there for in the startup land when building a startup.
Right. No, that makes sense. It's more efficient. You get more out of it. There's so many, I guess, second order effects of choosing what environment you put yourself in. You mentioned that you attended a non-target school. How do you think about for people who are not attending a major big name school, what do you need to do in order to succeed?
Become a decision maker in the area. So whether it's like leadership in clubs, like being decision maker there, or like being a decision maker for like a big project that a lot of people use, whether it's like not a company but like a big side project or something you do with your friends, or being a decision maker for like content or having like a personal brand. Yeah, maybe in short, this is all just to say work on your agency so you can stand out.
I see. Okay. So you're basically saying if your school's not an outlier, you should be an outlier in the things that you do.
Yes.
And that's what drew you to content, is that right?
I mostly did it for fun too, but that was probably one of the reasons. Yeah.
What do you think's the most important takeaway from college? Or do you feel like college was this thing where you just checked in, checked out, but it really didn't matter?
There are so many like CS content creators getting canceled left and right for like their opinions on this topic. My opinion is that it works for some people. It gives them structure and discipline. I think it's useful to have a structure, especially when there hasn't been that much agency built up. If you don't know what to learn, they just like provide it for you. It's also like a great way to meet people and build things together. So like people the same age. But like another like I mean, I guess my other view on it is for me personally, it definitely like dulled down my creativity and my passion for learning. Not everyone needs it, but it's good to have for a start, and also very admirable or like respectable to finish and continue going on that path to big tech or whatever. I think the structure can be good when you just don't know exactly like what you want to do, and also if you know what you want to do as well, because it's just like a direct path into something that could be really amazing for you and be like really structured for your life.
I guess I'm curious because in your case, your agency is just like off the charts. If you didn't go to college, do you think it would have made much difference?
I don't know. In high school, I was already doing like non-typical stuff, I guess. I was putting music out on Spotify. I had like a music career. My parents, I don't know how they felt about that, but I got 150K streams, and I was like going to just keep on going to. I was just gonna keep on being a music artist. Like people in my high school were like, "Wait, you post music on Spotify? We've not heard about that." But okay, college did help me find hackathons. I think everything that every experience I've done in my life up to now has still contributed to the person I am now.
That makes sense. Is there something that you wish you knew before you got into college?
Something I wish I knew before I got into college was how much network really did matter, I think. Like knowing the right opportunities, having the right people advise the college application. Because despite good test scores or GPA or whatever in high school, like that would still get beat out by people with like research internships or good like referral letters. Also, how much like network can propel a person in like any stage of their career. This, I don't know. This might be like, I don't know if this is the common take, or I don't know how popular this take is. But yeah, I think network is pretty powerful. Even if a person is on the same like skill scale, the people they know or the people they intentionally go out to get to know can really like change the trajectory of where they go.
For sure. You asked how popular is this opinion. Yeah, I don't think it's a hot take. I think everything in this world is or not, well, everything's a strong word, but most things are decided by people. And so imagine you said you wanted a Disney internship. Imagine if you knew someone on the team and they were looking for an intern, or you want to start a company and maybe you want to get into YC, you know, someone it can help, or also with privileged information too. I think that's a large part why I do this podcast. Imagine someone knew you, they could ask you all these things, get a leg ahead when it comes to hackathons and all those things, or we can just give it to everyone for free. So,
Yeah.
you know, this is giving that privileged information to more people.
Yeah, I love that mission.
I'm curious about the content stuff. How'd you get into creating content?
Well, I had been making music content for a while because like cue the Spotify career, whatever. But a friend from high school told me to vlog a hackathon video. And I was like, that seems fun. And I did do it for a while until like, I think by the time it was like my 16th hackathon win, I just gave it a try and it blew up. People love interesting videos. They also like to see big cash money won by student. So yeah, that really helped, I guess.
What was
And
the
that sort of
prize?
like took off from there. The prize was like I think $3,000 first place grand prize
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty good, especially for college.
for
Like,
college. Yeah, for
oh,
sure.
yeah. Okay, that makes sense. What's your definition of personal brand? Something that is helpful or relevant for college kids?
I think it's good to have a personal brand for students, no matter like what environment you're from. I think what it does is just it gives you leverage instead of sharing it to 5 people. Any subsequent action just gets built up by the time you like make a project, and it's really cool. Instead of getting to 5 recruiters, it could just get to like 500 all at one point, and increases like the chances of good opportunity reaching you.
Yeah, increases your luck and the opportunities. I think a lot of people get scared, or they could agree and be like, yeah, it's a good idea. I should post that project I built on LinkedIn or whatever. But I think a lot of people are scared to put themselves out there. How'd you get over that when you were first getting into it?
I think like I consulted like some close friends about it first. And even if they weren't creator friends, just like talking to other people about ideas and having them support, and like having that be something grounding and being like, oh, there are going to be 3 people who support me no matter what, even if like the 100 people or something maybe think I'm cringe or don't like it. And like it is those 3 people that matter the most. I mean, there probably are some other creators that phrase it better, but that's like what grounded me.
Being scared, but doing it despite that because you have a support network.
Yeah, support network.
Not every single person is going to be posting all the time. If you think about just your average college student that wants to be slightly more visible or stick out to recruiters, what's a concrete thing that you'd recommend they do?
Get out of localhost. Host your project on the cloud. And even if you don't post it on LinkedIn or Instagram, like you'll have it on GitHub. You can send it to recruiters or put yourself out there. Yeah, and it's easy to link it to GitHub as well.
Right. Okay, so you're saying take the work, make it public. Don't just have it be
Yeah,
some
yeah.
closed
Take the work.
repo. Okay. You're taking a gap semester in SF. I think that's pretty unusual for college kids who are working on a startup. What's the story behind how that happened?
Well, the startup started on a Thursday night when I was bored, and I said I wanted to start a company. So at 9 p.m., I started like shipping out the MVP, and at 9 a.m., I posted it everywhere on Instagram. The app crashed after like it got too much traffic. I was like, never mind. I had started the app because of all the comments on Instagram about hackathons, and I was trying to make an app that like helped people learn how to get into hackathons. But yeah, then a few months later, I met my co-founder Aiden, who helped me get the app back up, and we went to a Lake Tahoe trip to go skiing with our hackathon friends. But we ended up staying in SF, raising angel investment at a Luma event, like a hot pot, and then raising VC investment at another Luma event. So at that point, we were like, yo, let's go forward with this.
And this VC investment over Hot Pot, was it like a VC event, or you just happened to meet someone at this Hot Pot thing that was like, hey, here's an angel check?
Oh yeah, the angel investment was at the hot pot, and I just happened to meet someone who was like so intrigued by our story that he put in an angel check. Because like basically we were crashing all over in motels, shipping out the product. We had a lot of traction at the time, I think 5,000 users, and a lot of like when we were already making revenue from like B2B. So sort of told him about how I did all these hackathons and am now making a hackathon app. I think he liked the product market fit or the founder market fit. Yeah, he was like, yo, can I put a check in? And some other angel investor overheard on the table, and then they both put checks in. And then I posted a video about getting the checks, and it blew up to 500K on Instagram, and 13 other angels put checks in.
Wow. Okay. You just proved, I mean, 2 of the things you said were your network matters. Okay, boom, that's the beginning of this, right? And then the other thing was the leverage of content. Boom, that's where the other 13 checks came from. So, okay, wow. All right, do you think you'll go back to college?
Likely won't be going back to MSU, but I could transfer to like a school in California.
And that's another thing you said is like placing yourself in the right spot. So it sounds like California is a very big difference from where you were.
Yeah.
When you start a company, you probably get a lot of advice. Is there any particularly good advice that you've got?
I think good advice is like to move fast and keep shipping. And another piece of good advice is don't burn out. Which are like two
Opposites.
Yeah, two opposites. I think it makes sense. Like just keep on like consistently shipping fast, but also like when you need a break, probably take it, because like it really will weigh on like other parts of your life, like relationships or your own mental health and things like that. So I think when I first received that advice, I was like, like let's just keep on pushing. And then it did come and bite me back later. But yeah, if that's something I could tell people about startups, is that there is probably like a healthier way to go about startups. Like even if it's like a few hours of break or doing something, yeah, that's not company or work related, probably helpful.
So did you burn out, and how did you know that you had burnt out?
I didn't burn out, but I definitely felt like pressed. Like I think I wasn't able to afford to burn out. We were definitely in a scrappy environment. Like we were in Soma and our apartment got robbed.
Oh man.
So we literally had to just like even if I was gonna burn out, I was literally pressed. Like we like emailed like 100 other clients that very day. Like we just couldn't like yeah, that was a tough time for sure. We got our laptop stolen, we got all my jewelry stolen, and my co-founder's watch. But it's okay. Literally the next hour, we got right back onto talking to clients. We landed 7 YC companies working with us and 50 other companies. So we reached 5 figures MRR this month, and
Congrats.
yeah.
That sounds stressful.
Even if I didn't burn out, it still like weighed hard on other aspects of my life, like mental health and relationships. Yeah.
Let's say there's a kid who's going to college. They're thinking about quitting and starting their own company. Is that something you'd recommend? What do you need to see where you feel that's a good idea?
I think I would not recommend dropping out immediately. I would recommend setting win conditions depending on what kind of person you are or how much you know yourself. My win conditions were like, do I have the background in the network to be able to raise investment? Do I have the skills that I would need to be able to land clients and like survive an SF on like my own money and my co-founder's money? And like, yeah, technical skills, like knowing I was with the right people to like build out this product and also like be able to market it out to or have distribution systems for people. So like yeah, my win conditions were distribution system, technical ability to execute on the project, yeah, confidence in like my own network for both clients, investments.
So clearly you're coming into this very different from someone who just fresh wants to just start a startup. You had all these preconditions that were going to really increase your chances of success. Knowing what you know now, would you advise people go into computer science after, going through recruiting and seeing what it's like?
Ooh, it's another one of those questions where it's like it really depends on the person. But I would recommend always trying to build, like always trying it out, trying out building something that people want and people will use, because there's only like an upside to it. It's either A, you figure out, oh, I built something that I want, like people want to use, and I'm just gonna keep building something people want to use, or you build something people want to use, people will use it, and then the recruiters love it. So for sure, like if there's one thing to just like straightforward tell people is try and build something that people want to use.
Okay, cool. And then, yeah, the last thing is this one thing that you wish you could tell yourself before you got into college? What would that one thing be?
Be more open. Say yes to more things that bring you connection or like teachings. I think I was a lot more like, I'd only hang out with a few specific people. Whenever people like it would invite me out, I would probably be like, oh no. If you're a CS major that's like not touching grass, or you're like a high schooler that's not touching grass, probably go and touch grass. That's what I tell myself back then is.
It's interesting you say that because I feel like you're pretty willing to say yes to things. So you've grown.
Now I am.
And
Now I
this is
am. Yeah.
okay. This is okay. You touch grass now.
That's debatable, but a little bit more, yeah.
A little bit more. Okay, cool. Awesome. Okay, well, yeah, that's everything that I had. If you want, now's the time. If you want to plug something or maybe talk about the startup, you can feel free to talk and maybe people will go check it out.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the startup I co-founded with Aiden Golan is Sprint.dev. If you're a student or any age developer, this is an easier way to enter hackathons. And we're looking for the best builders. By best, I don't mean like the most technically developed or like the best ranked. I mean best as in you're willing to have creativity, execute on it, and you're willing to work with others, collaborate, and ship out things that people will love. You can go to Sprint.dev, and there are a lot of free tools out there, both for hackathons and also like company prizes. When you sign up for a hackathon, one of our hackathons will immediately provide you with like API credits and support on our Discord, so you can be less afraid to attend hackathons and be more happy to make friends. Sprint.dev, like sprint as in like fast running, and dev as in DEV.